right? And go back and just visit that. You take a nerve, this is a nerve, it's gonna fire down, and it's gonna go to the motor end plate. It's gonna depolarize, right? When the nerve depolarizes, it's not gonna open up the sodium channels, right, to depolarize the membrane of the sarcomere, eventually causing calcium to flow into the skeletal muscle to allow it to contract. However, for an SA node, it's an automatic. It's not like a stick shift, right? You gotta push a stick shift sometimes to start it up. Now it automatically starts up and starts to fire. The reason why the SA node is special is because it's not under the influence of any hormones or any protein, right? It doesn't need anything to jumpstart it, so it's automatic. So it has an unstable resting membrane potential. And this unstable resting membrane potential is around -70. Let's put it on the board. Right here, 70. -70 millivolts. That is the unstable resting membrane potential of the SA node. Now, I want us to take a look at this resting membrane potentials that I wrote up here initially that we talked about at the beginning of the lecture. Which of these ions has the closest resting membrane potential to the SA node? 65, right? 65 is overall closer to 70. Remember, the negative is just telling me the inside of the cell is more negative. That's all it means, all right? So for sodium, 65 is actually more closer to 70. So the SA node has an unstable resting membrane potential. Now, there are four phases that's actually involved in the action potential that occurs at the SA node. And we're going to go over it step by step. But before we move on, I want you to remind you that it requires different ions. And these are the ions you want to come into memory to be able to allow you to picture how the SA node actually works. So, the SA node exhibits a phase 4 depolarization, or known as automaticity. Phase 4 depolarization or automaticity. It's automatic. Automaticity. Or phase 4. So we're going to talk about the first phase. The first phase is a phase 4. And this phase 4 is actually caused by increase in sodium conductance. Really? Well, that makes sense, because sodium is a positive cation. Sodium is now going to influx inside the SA node, bringing in the positive inside the cell. What does that mean? The cell has just did what? Depolarized, right? When we bring positive ions inside the cell, this cell depolarizes. So the SA node, in order to depolarize, it's going to start as phase 4, and it's going to come up like this. And it's going to keep going up, and this is influx of sodium ions. Influx of sodium ions into the SA node right here at the top is what's causing the SA node to depolarize. So it's going to keep going up and going up as it's going to approach phase 0. So let's keep an eye on that, because we are going to need to remember this. So phase 1, phases of depolarization, phases of action potential at the SA node, okay? Phase 4, we're talking about depolarization using the sodium channels. All right, slow depolarization of phase 4 of the SA node. And this phase 4 is what accounts for pacemaker activity. The pacemaker activity, which uses sodium ions, right? So increase in sodium ions causing the influx of sodium current inside the cell. Now, Once this depolarizes and it starts to go up, we are going to go into a phase 0. So this is phase 4 of the SA node. We are now going to go into phase 0. Well, the phase 0 is known as the upstroke potential of the SA node. Action potential. So let's use a different color for that. In phase 0, what we're actually going to need to get the phase 0 of the action potential is actually going to use a different kind of ion. So sodium first came in, we depolarized. See that influx? The next phase, which is going to be phase 0, we're actually going to use calcium. Calcium. That is very important that you realize that in order for us to get that upstroke potential of an SA node, we are going to need the increased inward calcium current, which is going to drive the potential difference, the membrane potential of this cell towards calcium's membrane potential, which is positive 120. So it's going to go all the way up as it's going to approach positive 120. So you're going from the negative all the way to the positive. So this is phase 0 of the action potential. Remember, this is calcium. Calcium influx of calcium. So let's put calcium here and open up another channel so that calcium ions can float inside the SA node. So right now, this is where we're at. See? Sodium, calcium, excellent. Now, this is known as the ionic basis for the phase 0 of the SA node. Well, this is important because this is what makes the SA node completely different from the cardiac action potential in the ventricles, the atria, and the Purkinje fibers. So the SA node is different because it's going to have a different shape to its action potential because it's going to use calcium to get its phase 0 going up. But when we get down to the ventricles, right, where we have the Purkinje fibers and we have also the atrium, they are going to have, like we're talking about the myocytes right now, and we're going to talk about the ventricular conduction system. It's going to be a different kind of action potential, which I'm going to draw also on the board later on. Now, once we get from slow depolarization to rapid depolarization, the next phase is now going to be the phase 3. Phase 3. All right, phase 3. So we've got calcium influx. Well, what's inside the cell? Most of the content inside the cell is now potassium. And so for the SA node to repolarize, repolarization is the efflux of negative charges outside the cell. Well, in this case, phase 3, which is repolarization of the SA node, is now going to use potassium. What actually happens is the proteins, which are the gated channels, are going to now be highly permeable. They're going to open up and they're going to be extremely permeable to potassium. So potassium can come out of the cell. So we're going to have a pumping of potassium outside of the cell. See that? Well, when that happens, now you're going to see the action potential drop down. It's going to drop down. And as it's dropping down, it's trying to approach negative 85. See that? This is negative 80 right here. It's going to approach negative 85. That is phase 3, the influx of potassium, influx of sodium, right there, and influx of calcium. So this is efflux. I'll call this efflux of potassium outside the cell. Now that we say the SA node has repolarized, well, when it does that, it's going to go all the way down to try to approach negative 85, which is the resting membrane potential of potassium. See? So that makes sense. That's why I wanted to show you these numbers initially at the beginning of the lecture. So now that we are down to phase 3, we are now going to go back to phase 4. So now we've repolarized the cell. The next thing is that unstable resting membrane potential of sodium. The cell, because it's very unstable to sodium, they're constantly trying to go in and going. Sodium is now going to enter again, and then the cell is going to depolarize. Calcium is going to go up, potassium is going to go in. Now, what does this all mean? All these fancy words I'm throwing around. All it means is when the SA node fires, right? The SA node is going to fire. Well, it has to, for it to fire, it has to depolarize first. When it depolarizes, that depolarization is going to spread. It's going to spread to the atrium. When the atrium now gets depolarized, the atrium is not going to contract. And then this action potential is now going to flow down also to the AV node. The AV node is going to get the message. It's going to depolarize, send the message down to the bundle branches, which is now going to send it to the Purkinje fibers. And when the Purkinje fibers depolarize, now we're going to get contraction. So now we've talked about just the SA node, we're now going to talk about the cardiac action potential that happens inside the ventricular system. Hey, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you learned a lot. Are you studying for the USMLE Step 1 or Step 2? Are you studying for the NCLEX or you're currently in nursing school as a nursing student? Are you a PA student currently in school or studying for your PANCE exam? Or are you a nurse practitioner student or trying to take your NP board exam? Listen, I've got super awesome content for you. If you truly love this video and it simplified your learning process, I want you to check out my website below. I've listed all the list of exams, whether you're studying for any of this board exam, and all I want you to do is click on the link right now below so that you can take you directly to my website. For USMLE, just go to smashusmle.com. For NCLEX, go to crushnclex.com. And if you're studying for the PANCE exam, the nurse practitioner exam, or you're studying for your internal medicine board exam, just click below and it'll take you directly to ftplectures.com. Listen, I can't wait to help you. If you need to get in touch with me, just get to my website, be able to reach me directly, and we can work together one-on-one. Listen, you're super awesome, and my goal here is to help your dream come true. If you want to be a doctor, want to be a nurse practitioner, a registered nurse, or physician assistant, I'm here to help you get to that next level with your medical knowledge. Let's save the world together. I love you guys. You guys are super awesome, and do not forget to click on the link below to be able to get to my website. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You guys have a great day. Let's go.